Well, hello. Good morning. What's up? How are you doing? You're looking at a man on uh, medicinal purposes here. We survived our surgery last week. I'm a horrible patient, and I'm questioning if I should even be on air right now. But thanks for everybody that's been popping on here. I've already got well wishes, and it's great to see everybody, right? And the irony of this is that it is a rainy Sunday, and it's not a rainy Sunday show. So I'm coming at you at 11:19 Eastern Standard Time. It is, oh my God, May 5th, 2024 for you people in the future. And last Tuesday, like I said, I went through and I've had surgery and stuff, right? Um, and I gotta tell you, man, overall, pretty good week. Yesterday was rough, a little rough yesterday, and I'm probably pale as a ghost now, but don't be concerned. I was pale before. So yeah, we got some recovery time coming up. We've got some time to get some reading done, watching on things, and I've already got cabin fever, my friends. Already have cabin fever. So we're going to be talking about things. I'm going to show you what I'm reading, things I'm watching, things I've caught up on, uh, and just talk comics. So let's see who everybody is here because this is fantastic. Good morning, man. John C. We knew John C was going to be here. Like, subscribe, thumbs it up. Good to see you. We have Dingo. Oh, I'm doing pretty good, guys. Doing pretty good. Thank you. We still got a little ways to go, but we're fine. We're fine. Jay, great to see you, Jay. Fantastic. Good to see you. The Breen is here. The Professor, the man. Good morning. Enid Palo. Yes, our foreign correspondent, the man. Comics help you recover faster, or so, or so you claim. I'm going to touch on that, sir. Yes, 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 they do. John Jones is here. Great to see you, man. Long time guy. Oh, yeah, doing good. Great to see you, man. Little Jimmy Fireball, good morning. Thank you. Surly Tim, I got here from the start. Good to see you doing well. Hey, thank you so far. Yeah, so far so good. We are starting later in the day because yeah, I'm recuperating. Jay, thanks. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm listening to my wife is the trick there. I'll go ahead and say that. And John Jones, yeah, everything's good. Good to see you, John. And then we got Dingo popping in here. I got some free time to read my Kirby Jimmy Olsen and Sandman Mystery Theater competing. I'm going to take both slow. Yeah, I would soak in that Sandman Mystery Theater, man. Those stories can get so dark. I have to take a break just with the 4 issue arcs and stuff that they do. All right, guys. So what have I been doing when I was recovering, man? Paolo touched on something I was going to talk about real quick. We give time everybody to jump in here because I have got stacks of stuff here. Some, I don't know if it'll be overwhelming or underwhelming, but it's a selfish time. It's a selfish time, right? But years ago, I've talked about the first time I ever had surgery was like 85, and it was my appendix. And I got a ton of comic books. Strangers who I did not know, but they knew the family were running all over town. And they heard the little Timmy liked comic books, so they were walking in. And I was getting all over town stacks, probably about 3 inches high and stuff, 4 or 5 times in a week. And I was there for 4 or 5 days to begin with, right? And I still have many of those comics. A couple years ago, I was talking to Scott Shaw, the guy who created Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew, and it turns out, he was a '70s California hippie that actually went over with his buddies and hung out at Jack Kirby's place, at his place, and I was having him sign some books for me and a buddy and 2 buddies actually and stuff, right? And he held on to my comic books while we were talking and stuff, and I knew what he was doing because he was asking questions and telling stories. And his thing is that most people, at least of his generation, a bit mine, discovered comic books through being in the hospital and being sick in the 50s and 60s and stuff, which is true. And then I've heard stories of people going to the barber shop that would find Archies and everything there, right? So it's amazing how being sick and being under the weather and having entertainment in your hands in comic books and things like that have always kind of gone hand in hand. So yeah, there is a placebo effect. Who knows, but it's nothing like getting some chemicals going in your brain, the endorphins, reading things that excite you and get your mind off of things, at least transport you for a while. So yeah, it's all part of it, guys. It's all part of it. All right. So let's just get back down to what I'm reading, because I'm not just reading things. Oh, right at the last second before we bring up Comic Cam, we have Dr. Silver Age. Great to see you, brother. Great to see you, man. So I hope everybody's doing well out there. C2E2 is going on, as I've seen. Had time to kind of look around on the YouTube and things like that. Not much going on in comic book news. I haven't checked comic book news in probably off and on over a year, maybe 3 or 4 to come in. Not a lot going on, but so we have to make our own entertainment, make our own excitement and stuff, right? We got plenty here. I've got a room full of stuff. Time to catch up on a few things. So let's switch on over here and see what's going on. It's the debut of, not the debut, the return of Comic Cam, right? So this right here, if you were a D&D player back in the day, okay, or if you were into rock and roll, I usually read dead authors. And I told the story about 2 months ago. I was in Books a Million with my wife. I was like, I just read nothing but dead authors. I wonder what else is out there. So this came out in around 2017, Kings of the Wild. Apparently it's got a cult following, or maybe Nicholas Eames, the author, has a cult following. But basically, this is a kind of a straightforward adventure tale of a band getting back together, a band of like like your D&D band, right? This thing is written straightforward, like in this world. And the biggest thing is Gabriel, who's older now. His daughter is trapped thousands of miles away across the wild, the forest that is just nothing but dangers unspeakable and unheard of. Everything. He's got to get the band back together, and they were called Saga. And they got to get the band back together. They're older now. They're in their 50s, middle age, families, whatnot, all this stuff like that. And that's kind of how the guy writes this band of fighters, if you will, of swashbucklers and tomfoolery people and stuff. They're older now. They have aches and pains. They're seeing the younger generation, and they're going on one last big crusade here. And he treats it like a rock and roll band. But at the same time, there's little references to monsters, and it feels like a campaign the way he's written it, because it has taken forever to get through this, right? I can't say that it's a hard read. It's an entertaining read. It's not a deep read, but I'm determined to finish this thing because, I'm so far into it and stuff to get it done. But it's definitely a book that could have been half of what it is, but it doesn't feel like everything is wasted. Going to start reading some Conan for you Conan nuts, right? You want to reread this story? I have this story that I'm going to show you real quick here before we get to the comics. In this collection, I probably have 2 or 3 Conan pulps like this, but Red Nails is my favorite Conan tale, okay, by Robert E. Howard. And it's everything that Conan should be. It has a woman. It has a dinosaur, a monster, if you will. It has underground civilizations in their own little bubble, a little magic and stuff like that, right? And Barry Windsor Smith and Roy Thomas did an adaptation back in the 70s, and I have it in several versions in my comics. I've got it in a phone book here that Dark Horse put out. I have 2 or 3 of the 3 copies of a one shot. It came out in the early 80s where they reprinted it and stuff, right? So I'm not saying it is the best Conan story ever, but I'm saying it is my favorite, and it's a comfortable read when I read it and stuff, right? So we're going to see if it holds up with those Frank Frazetta things. And I've said many times growing up, Conan was everywhere with the comic books and stuff, right? I don't remember a time that I don't remember seeing a Frank Frazetta Conan there, right? So yeah, doing a little bit of actual reading stuff, and I've got about 100, less than 100 pages of this left, so we're going to try to fly through that, and then we're just going to have something comfortable that I've read many times before. It never ceases to amaze me how there's certain stories and books and comics you can go back and read for the first time again. It's been a while since I've read it all the way through, so that's good stuff here, right? All right, I'll be checking comments a minute now. Right here, why am I showing this? This is DVD. This is the physical. Uh-oh. Am I live? Uh-oh. Hello. Hello, Comic Cam. Hold on. We have lost Comic Cam. We'll see what's going on here. I bet somebody has tried to call me. Hello. Okay, guys. But anyways, you see, I can do this at the same time as Doom Patrol, right? You can get on Max and see all 4 seasons. Here we go. I'm going to get in and I'm going to get out. But anyway, as you saw there, you can go on Max, and I've actually been catching up on Stargirl and Doom Patrol. And why do I watch Stargirl on Max? Well, basically, see, this is why I come in late sometimes with this, and I've lost 2 viewers, 3 viewers. Everybody is ducking out on me here. We're going to get Comic Cam back. I know that's who you'd really come and see. People are leaving me now. It's okay. It's okay. It's this is easy, right? But anyway, you go to Max. You can get the Max app. Pay for it for maybe a month, whatever. I'm sure they'll have a trial. Let's see here. There we go. And the shows, some they may have like a little bit of a CW quality, but what they have is a lot of people who worked on other shows like Supernatural and things, right? These shows started out for the DC Universe app back in 2019. You had Titans, Stargirl, Doom Patrol, and of course, let's mute that mic. Entered the studio, and we're back. So anyway, they get these shows going. They had Swamp Thing also, and the first thing that happened is everybody got mad because Swamp Thing got cut short. They were in North Carolina filming, and all sorts of little things happened with their. There we go. We're back, guys. So they switched it over to where I switched it over, but Swamp Thing kind of got canceled because of like taxes or something in North Carolina where they were filming it. So we got a shorter season. Stargirl comes out, a little bit of CW quality, but Jeff Johns is on top of it, and I think they have James Robinson. So I'm watching that one because of the Starman ties. It has the shade in it. It goes right back to the book Stars and Stripes from 1999, those 14 issues that Jeff Johns did when he debuted the character who he based on his sister who died in an airplane crash. The show is entertaining. It takes place in Nebraska and at a high school, but we have like Eclipso has popped up. We have the Justice Society in there in the opening sequence and a flashback of how they ended and things like that. And then we had Doom Patrol. And Doom Patrol, now, if you had told me when I was 7 years old in 1980 that we would have a Black Adam movie and we would have a Doom Patrol TV show, I would have laughed at you right to your face, and in a way where I would be very arrogant about it. Yet here we are. We have these, right? So these were the fourth season ended a few months ago, and the DVD is out. So I got to say that I'm very happy with the show despite its flaws. I want to use the word. I want everybody to prepare themselves, right? There are aspects of it that are woke. But there also are whole episodes where they're sitting around doing a lot of talking. But then they'll turn around and they'll pull something out of the Grant Morrison comics that I never thought I would see. So I'm going to say it's like not quite, it's unbalanced, but it's definitely the one that's going to get a cult following, even from people who don't read comics and things, right? So if you want to see some Grant Morrison stuff come to life and you have time to slow down, they even acknowledge a few things from the 60s and there's a little bit of things from the 70s. So I think each season might be 10 episodes. One season I think was 8, or maybe I have it wrong, and I'm rewatching them. I'm halfway through season 2 again, right? Because I haven't watched the fourth season. I've just waited, right? After you get past the fact that Cyborg is in the Doom Patrol, which makes no sense, it's an entertaining read. It's an entertaining read, entertaining watch and stuff. Just kind of take your time through it. I'm spending a lot of time fast forwarding on my phone through a lot of the talking going on. Like I said, a lot of talk in some of these episodes, right? Especially in season 2. But then, like I said, there'll be a payoff, right? So there you go. I actually got to see I believe I did get to see the painting that ate Paris. If you're into that, right? So that's what we're finishing up on the bed. Stargirl and Doom Patrol as they go through here. What do we got here? Just everybody is. Hey man, guys, we're all here together. I'm not in a big rush, so you guys chat away. Dr. Silver Age popped in. We got the Sumerian. Hey, just picked up the BBC Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series on DVD. Super cheap. Hope I enjoy Douglas Adams. I think you will if you like humor, if you like the English humor. And Douglas Adams isn't as dry. That's what's wild and stuff, right? I think it's fantastic. But I did warn you. It's from the early 80s and it's got the same quality of special effects that Tom Baker Doctor Who had. Okay. Conan is always a treat. Comfort reading for me at this point. Red Nails is brilliant. One of my favorite Conan stories. Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not alone. Palo. Somebody tried to call Howler Mouse during the stream. Classic Howler Mouse bit. There we go. Yes. Yes. For you people that are doing stuff, it never failed. Like it was feast or famine. I could sit around the house all day long for whatever reason. Nothing. Don't won't hear from anybody. I start doing a live stream. I get phone calls. I get knock on the doors. I have people pulling up outside. Something always would go wrong, and it was a treat. So we just had one. Oh man. All right, Graphic Man. Okay, Graphic Man. I got something from you and Breen what you were talking about on your show last week. And guys, there will be a Fossils reunion coming up later in the week. And I got asked about it showing up. So if my recovery keeps going well, I may pop up. In later as the day goes, the less available I am. Let's put it that way. Oh my goodness, Surly Tim. If you want to read really good, snag back issue 121, the Roy Thomas interview is good and it includes the other swords and sandals comics titles of the era. I may have that. Or I might have that. Paulo Costa. They tried to cyborg for Beast Boy. Yeah. Yeah. There's times to say things on it. I'm going to finish out the rest of the season to see why they did that. Like I said, there's. Yeah. Gore Vidal, great to see you. It's a rainy Sunday here too. Glad you're doing well. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Great to see you, Gore. Of course, Cyborg and Robot Man are visually too similar, but with Cyborg as a technician, you don't need Chief. Cyborg just is not fit for one of the reasons you said. Now they don't even cross paths that much. Let's put it that way. Cyborg and Robot Man. Oh, Graphic Man, great to hear. Awesome. And Dingo, as I've grown older, John Byrne's work has grown on me. Shame he doesn't do more of Danger Unlimited and more original work. Yeah, I was going to talk about this. Hey, I'm proud of the effort, Graphic. Fantastic. Right. Okay. So one of the things that I haven't really busted into yet, but this is the stack, is John Byrne's Dark Horse work of the era, right? You had John Byrne's Next Men, right? I was there for 99% of this stuff, right? I was there with there was an amazing time going on in the 90s where yes, you had Image bust out, but you also had like Frank Miller popping over at Dark Horse around 91, I believe, and he started his Sin City. And he was doing a book that would be unfilmable because due to his RoboCop experience, writing the screenplay for 2 and 3 and some things happening, he was kind of done with Hollywood. So he wanted to do a comic that would be unfilmable. So he did Sin City. It had a one shot. Then Dark Horse Presents came out, and he started doing what would become The Long Goodbye. It was just called, the original first story was about Marv, and it was just called Sin City. And then all of a sudden, John Byrne started popping up with his serialization of sort of his origin of John Byrne's Next Men. And then we got 30 issues out of that. And then while he was doing that and other things in the indie market, and these guys were talking about Image and having a little drama and things going on, he came out with two other books. Danger Unlimited, which everybody saw this as sort of like, oh, John Byrne's going to do another take of Fantastic Four. And he also had a book that was called Babe, and he had tried to get Babe published elsewhere, and they more or less said no. And he also had a book that was going to come out, but I didn't see anything more than a promotional spot on it called Prototypes. So I'm going back and I'm revisiting these because I really enjoyed Babe. But this was like John Byrne. It felt like he was just having some fun. Let's see if we can get closer here without anybody calling me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find some kind of special light for this, for Comic Cam, right? So basically what we have here is that the book starts in the future, and a lot of it is told in flashback, right? And this is Byrne when his style was a bit changing, right? He's still using techniques and stuff that he was doing at Marvel on Namor, with the gray tones and things like that. I know the technical term for it, but it's not there. But Byrne is just having a blast, just doing all his stuff, doing comics his way. He's doing everything in this except the coloring. But anyway, we get tales that go back to the 40s, and then we jump back to the future. Um, we get to see how these characters have ended up, and as that we age backwards, as we these tales get older and older, back to the 60s, possibly the 40s. We're getting told the story in reverse, which works out just fine. Makes for a very interesting read. And if Byrne hadn't have tried to find another different point of view with this, I would think it was just a very, you know, generic John Byrne story. Let's just put it that way. Phoenix Agenda. I feel tones of a danger of a Doom Patrol in this. Um, and to tell you the truth, I truly don't know the characters well enough anymore to really talk about them because they are archetypes. You see this energy being here, that's Johnny Storm. So it's not that I don't know the characters, it's just that this is sort of like Fantastic Four with a bit more Doom Patrol in it, if you will. And they were building a universe because there's a Hellboy appearance in it and a Torch of Liberty that John Byrne was doing with Kerwin Dwyer in the back of Hellboy books in the 90s. So it kind of ties in there. So some great stuff was coming out, some characters we didn't really get to see or follow through with. They were building things, but then we get here to Babe. And I don't know what to really tell you about Babe without spoiling it. But there's 5 women involved with Babe, and Babe will just pop up. And we all knew Babe was basically She-Hulk with, we're not going to get a decent one, but Babe is like about a 7-foot hot redheaded chick running around, who, if you colored her skin green, would be She-Hulk. She seems very simple in her way of thought, very naive, very trusting. And it turns out that there's a reason for all of this. That's the secret. Who is Babe? Why does she pop up? Who are these 5 women that are seem to be around in different at times? That how are they tied to Babe? But the greatest thing is that there was 2 issue miniseries, and in the second miniseries, after we know who Babe is, we get tied into some major Hellboy stuff because Abe Sapien comes in. And there's this whole world they were sort of building on the side where they took urban legends. And apparently, this world was made of urban legends that you would find in like the National Enquirer and stuff. Because all those alligators in the sewer that were, abandoned and flushed down the commode are intelligent and have grown a kingdom and they're taking over. That's the bad guys. So we start seeing a lot of that. And that's the tie with Abe Sapien because, they're in the sewers and stuff. But it's fantastic, fun stuff if you like Byrne, untapped, and has not been exploited to the point that you would be sick of it. So it's great stuff that I'm catching up on a little bit. Like I said, it's more of a reread. I can kind of flip through it and go through and just catch up on it real easy. All right. So yeah, John Byrne's work really started changing in the 90s, and you got to be real careful because if you talk about Byrne and his Byrne victims still follow him on John Byrne Robotics and stuff, and they catch it, they'll storm you. Like, how dare you say his stuff in the 70s and 80s was better? How dare you? See, I really need to reread Danger Unlimited. Yeah, it's just a simple, fun read. You sit down. It's a satisfying read, right? I wouldn't even give it 5 stars, 4 stars, maybe 3, because it is what it is. It feels like these are ideas that John Byrne couldn't get published elsewhere, so he doesn't waste anything. He's getting them out there. I like to try to pretend that it was a abandoned Fantastic Four plot or something, and it's not. It's not. And 2112, a graphic novel for Byrne, unused pitch for Marvel 2099. Very, very good. The Next Men in what he was the annual, the one shot that Paolo was talking about. John, if we didn't have 2099, we would have had 2112 that John Byrne had pitched for Marvel, and he took it to Dark Horse and tied it into his Next Men. I got a feeling Next Men probably would have been the whole 2112 universe. At the same time that he was doing this and getting it published, he was doing a 4-issue OMAC graphic novel where there are pages he swiped himself, or at least panels he swiped from himself from his OMAC 4-issue prestige miniseries in that 2112. There were pages that some panels matched up a little bit. Good stuff. So I've been showing this quite a bit. Dark Horse, you can pre-order now, right? But Dark Horse is doing this great thing where they're taking the EC titles and you're getting about 6 issues per trade, and these are $20 trades, which I think is a fantastic price. I think I have a Vault of Fear pre-ordered. Weird Science is my favorite thus far. Weird Fantasy. I don't know if they're doing Tales of the Crypt yet. But anyway, like somebody is trying to call me again. Comic Cam, come on now, be nice to me. Anyway, there we go. It's working again. So yeah, so they're getting these out. I'm pre-ordering them, so I'm paying $13 a piece. And I got hooked because I went to Heroes Con last year, and at Heroes Con there's a table where the guy has all his soft cover trades are $5 and hardcover trades are 10. They're brand new. And for some reason he gave me 2 of these EC reprints that Dark Horse is doing, 2 for $5. He was being nice. I had a little stack going there, right? And as I've said before, I just take my time with these. I don't read these sequentially, sequentially all the way through. They have been recolored. I guess remastered would be the word. The pages are bigger than what the comic was, which works out just fine because, as you see, you get bang for your buck. We get a lot of dialogue, a lot of exposition, and these morality stories where the bad guys always get it in the end, in a horrifying way. So I kind of take my time. I enjoy the Wally Wood, the Jack Davis, all these guys from yesteryear. We get the editorials and letters that came out in them. And these are just something, like I said, I take my time through. I'm not in a big rush to go through because in my mind, when I see comics in my head, to me, EC Comics is the epitome. I am a Jack Kirby nut. I'm a George Perez nut. I'm an Alex Ross nut, but I go all the way back to these guys in the 50s with their crisper and more clean style, lots of blacks. And when it came time to draw horrific monsters and these scenes of severed arms and heads and stuff, man, they were able to do it also. So yeah, I just feel like you cannot go wrong with EC Comics because if you're reading a story you don't like, just move on to the next one. So not a lot of reoccurring characters, if you will, a lot of reoccurring horror hosts. So yeah. And this is great because I keep this one handy. I was telling you my Gmart order, my online store. This one came really beat up. I flattened it out a bit and stuff, man. But this came in, it's supposed to be brand new, came in all beat up. So I can just keep this one handy. I can toss this one around. They replaced it. So that's my original. Now, if there is one book that I was going to tell somebody that if they wanted to get into comics and things weren't complicated and you didn't want to worry about crossovers and backstory and everything like that, you wanted something simple that could just be on its own, I recommend Fables, okay, by Bill Willingham. Mark Buckingham, Peter Gross, Mike Allred, all these people they brought in. I was there at Fables at the beginning, back in 2001, 2002. All right. I had number one. I was actually with Gmart, the same online comic book company store that I was talking about. Let me get comfortable, guys. I'm kind of feeling woozy a little bit. Excuse me. So anyway, and I stuck in there for, I don't know, 42, 43, we'll say 45 issues. We'll just round it up, right? So I was there for, almost 4 years. And then they turned around and they told who the adversary was. The whole concept of Fables, and it blows my mind because there's a TV show called Once that blatantly, took from this. And Bill Winham and I guess Warner Brothers probably owns. Warner Brothers was tied. They're all tied together. So you had the comic book company, the station. We know. I'm not going to say anything because I can't cite any source, but with a wink and a nudge, I think we know. But anyway, they pulled from this. So what's going on is all the fairy tale creatures are living in the real world. They have made a little community because in the thousands of other dimensions, the fairy tale lands, if you will, where Snow White and the three pigs, the Grimm fairy tales, everything out there exists and lives their life and everything. They have this one great adversary that is going from realm to realm, from fairy tale land to fairy tale land, that's taking over. And these are the refugees and all these characters that are running from the adversaries. So they come here to Earth and they took over like a city block of New York. And then they have the farm where they hide like the three little pigs, the fairy tale creatures and giants and animals that do not look human. and they all get little jobs and stuff. And Bill Willingham has done this fantastic job of keeping these creatures as fairy tale creatures, but bringing them in the real world. You have a mayor, you have like their own little police force, and you have their military technicians that's going on, where you take all this stuff to fight the adversary, and it's just brilliant and fantastic. Little dose of realism there and stuff, right? And then he ties all the creatures together with their little soap opera stuff, where the Prince Charming is the guy that is divorced from Snow White and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. And Bigby Wolf is the same wolf who is in all the fairy tales, but he's a good guy now. He's kind of like a sheriff and everything. And he gets with Snow White. He's changed. Basically, Bigby Wolf is probably for a while there was a very popular character there and everything, right? And it's its own little world. So I'm on trade number 12. Now, why did I quit? I've said this before. I rage quit and I sold all the issues on eBay, and I did get a good chunk of money. And I have thus replaced issue number 1. I probably got about 40, 45 issues that I picked up here from dollar bins, or got in a lot of comics where I'm in a quarter a piece, 17 cents a piece. And then last year or the year before, sometime in the last 2 years, I've been at a flea market, and I ended up getting all these trades, I think, for $1 a piece, or I made some kind of deal. So I'm going back and I'm rereading it, and I'm up to issues 75 through 82. I'm further than what I started. So this is the beginning of a new stage in Fables, because everything that has gone on with the adversary ended in issue 75, and now we're moving forward. Now, who was the adversary? Why did I rage quit? Because Bill Willingham was going to have the original adversary be Peter Pan. I had guessed right amongst 2 other guesses that I had of who the adversary was going to be. I was in the top 3 with who it was going to be. Well, he ended up finding out that Peter Pan is not in public domain. The court made a special, how can I say this, exception to them, because any money that comes through Peter Pan funds this orphanage. So he's not in public domain, and he had to switch around who the adversary was going to be. And I was like, it's bullshit. I have read this. He is not the adversary, so there you go, right? But anyway, years have gone by. I read it. It worked out. One of the best comic books ever, multiple time Eisner Harvey Award winner, and deservedly so. And the book holds up. This is the way to go. What they did with the frog prince in this is epic in its own way, and it's just a small chapter of Fables. There's just so much good stuff in here, right? But yeah, Fables, I know it's come back in the last couple years, but it ran 150 issues. I think it's up to 162 or 3. Apparently, he's doing parts of it. And yes, there has been some controversy where apparently DC or somebody finally pissed off Bill Willingham, and he was like, this Fables is in public domain. He got on X and said. And then DC responded with, just try to, we dare you to try to do something on your own without our permission on this, right? So yeah, they're all there. They're all cheap. Nobody is really looking for these. So it's well worth the effort, because this is more than a satisfying read. This is a roller coaster ride where you have oohs and ahs. And horrible things happen to fairy tale creatures, and wonderful things happen to pathetic creatures in this. It's just so good. So very good. Yeah. So yeah, we got 70 some issues to go to read. So let's check this out. Paolo, we need to do a show where we actually talk about the origins of 29.99 with Marvel. I think the nostalgia factor might be enough for people, and I may remember just enough to hang in there with you. Yep. Yeah, Paolo. Yeah, reread that. 2112. Here we go. I have to pick up those ECs before they go out of print. I'm enjoying them, and I don't really usually push for people to, buy things. But you just can't go wrong with EC. Like I said, if you don't like it, just move on to the next one. There's so much variety in those stories. Apparently, Oni Press is going to be producing new EC books in July. Epitaphs from the Abyss and Cruel Universe. As usual, I'm skeptical. Oh, Shirley Tim. Yeah, anything new, brand new, I'm skeptical as well, and I'm not ashamed of it. The guy you're not alone. That's what I'm saying, Shirley. Eric Breen, the guy I work for, met the guy in charge of EC Project on Oni. He's a huge fan of the source material. I'm cautiously optimistic. There we go. See, That's how this is how us seasoned guys are, man. You know, we're skeptical and we're cautiously optimistic and stuff, right? This is why we've survived. You know, took me forever to get that way with women. Usually these guys can't brag enough about changing it for the modern audience, but he didn't say anything like that. Yeah, if it's not broke, there's nothing to fix. You know. Um, I'm hopeful, but I'm going to be grabbing them. I have no self control. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, what do we have here? A Superman story, right? So, about 2 weeks ago, I ended up going on and on. Last week's show was Eric Breen and I talking about the fantastic movies of 1982. Go check it out. It was great. We had fun. The week before that, I did this whole thing recommending Superman stories. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a shorter version of that because I think that ran 3 hours also. So, I'm going to try to make a proper video here in the next few days when I get some color back, you know, and I'm making sure I feel up to it and can be coherent. But I'm going to go back and I want to like redo the list that I picked out here and just kind of show the books a little bit, not go in depth, right? So, because of that, because of me doing that 2 weeks ago, I ended up reading this again, Superman for All Seasons, in two settings. And talk about reading a book in 2000, 1999. I had all the issues, but there was a book called Secret Identity by Kurt Busiek I've talked about before. I went with that one, if that makes any sense. So when I got rid of these, I didn't think too much about it. I went with the other one, you know, and I don't regret it. But this is, you know, but this was, I'm sure I bought this at Ollie's for probably like $4.99, $3.99 or something. But Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, 1999. And I'll go ahead and give you a wink and a nudge. Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy are in a panel in this. Just going to throw that out there. But anyway, we have them doing Superman for All Seasons. This ties into what John Byrne did with Man of Steel. And each issue is named after a season. So it's not sequential per se, but each story takes place in a little bit different era of Superman's life, but it's still kind of connected and stuff, right? But what was great about this is the aesthetics that they did. I would say it's a wonderful life aesthetic. This feels like the 30s and 40s when you go to Smallville. The detail that Jeff Loeb did with the people in a small short amount of space that he put into the people of Smallville, on top of the general store that Tim Sale drew. When you get in there, the art is just breathtaking. And then, of course, it's touching. Everybody loves to do their what's Superman all about? What makes Clark who he is, right? But this is all Farm Boy, different eras. And then when you look at what Metropolis is, when we see Clark Kent older in Metropolis, he really gets shook by Lex Luthor in his early years there, where he comes back home, you know, to Smallville to kind of collect himself and finish up some things with Lana Lang and stuff and things like that. But the Metropolis that they use, if you squint real hard, you'll see some stuff for French Lang's Metropolis that they kind of pulled out with just little small things, you know, sidewalks in the sky. You know, it's not sci-fi per se, but it's there. Definitely things, but I mean, the art that Tim Sell alone did in a lot of this is just fantastic, right? So well played, bravo. It is a fantastic read with tons of heart in it. And Jeff Loeb actually, it landed. It landed. I've got a thing about Jeff Loeb where I kind of, you know, I always recommend Jeff Loeb books, but he's got a thing where like sometimes they just don't land. You know what I mean? And I think that's, I got to let go of Hush. I got to let it go. I got to let it go. Oh, let me see here. I didn't read everything 2099. Neither did I. And as a matter of fact, a lot of it was painful. I usually steered clear of Ravage Hulk and tremendously disappointed, and I should have read Ghost Rider. Warren Ellis's Doom. Doom was my book. That was the one I like. I have the first issue signed by Pat Broderick, I think. I also missed the book in series called 2099, World Tomorrow, but that was a flying Joe Cavalier. I think what I'm more talking about is the origins of it. Like John Byrne pitched this for 2099. Here's what it became. Not so much about 2099. Believe it or not, I've only ran across 2-3 people, and I wouldn't be thinking about this if we're talking right now. I've only run across maybe 2 or 3 people who are 2099 fans, like hardcore fans. Like they took it serious, had every issue, and we're going back to the early 2000s. You know, when I ran into them. I love For All Season series. I'm looking for the promo poster right now as it hangs on the wall above my desk. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, what else am I reading? Well, let's get this out of the way because I'm probably going to end up getting rid of this, right? It's a modern book, guys. Okay. I don't have number 20 with me. I pre ordered these because it's Mark Waid back on Kingdom Come. All right. So I'm going to try to like put this in a nutshell without going too far. Right. So let me look behind me here. Give me 1 minute to grab something. Oh, yeah, this will work. Oh, man. Okay. Give me a second here. Whew. All right. So what we have here back in the 2000s is we had not James Robinson, but we had Jeff Johns and Alex Ross do this storyline through Justice Society of America. They gave it a new number one and went from GSA to Justice Society of America. And one of the things that they did is that we got to do the Kingdom Come story, the origin of Gog, Magog, if you will, Alex Ross style. What he wanted with Jeff Johns kind of steering it and stuff, and it has major ties of the present, leading to things. Come back years later, we come back and we have this version of uh, Kingdom Come, a prequel, if you will, which is the origin of Magog, if you will, and stuff. What's going on here and stuff by Mark Waid. And I just got to tell you, man, it's a matter of taste. If you love this book and it's modern and you like it, that's good. A lot of things I had problems with. A few beautiful visuals, a few fantastic. Like I love this cover. We're going back to the Kingdom Come guys. But I'm going to find the Wizard interview or wherever I read it where Mark Waid used to admit that Kingdom Come was um, uh, Alex Ross's baby, if you will, right? It's his baby. And he was to sort of kind of guide him, talk through some ideas and things. And as years went by, Mark Waid kind of took more and more credit. I mean, maybe deservedly so. Who knows? It's collaboration. So here recently, we get this whole idea of like now we're going to have Superman and Batman go visit this Earth, and every issue this makes me this blows my mind, right? Every issue to give it the cinematic feel, we get these 2-page spreads where it's a movie poster. It's this is the titles, this is the credits of everybody that works on this. This is Superman, world's finest, and everybody that worked on it and stuff, right? Um, yeah. This book has probably hit 25 issues by now. So when you think about this, you have 50 pages. If you're buying this monthly, that have been wasted. You have 50 pages of this because apparently they're doing it in every book and every one of these, right? That bothers me. That bothers me. This is wasted space. This could be more storytelling and things like that. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, after reading this, it's readable, but I thought it was very lame about who Magog ends up being. When Magog came out in Kingdom Come, I've always said that in my idea of comic book history, you have certain characters or certain events that people will eventually agree on or will acknowledge started different eras. The most famous one is the Silver Age with the Flash, popping up in DC Showcase. And then we go up. The Silver Age died when Gwen Stacy died. I personally feel like it's when Conan #1 was printed, but hey, who am I? And then there towards the, what was it, 89 or 90, it was the debut of Cable. When Cable popped up, to me, that was the beginning of the next age going into the 90s. Cable was that character, his big guns and his spikes and the exaggerated punk rock feel of a young Rob Liefeld and stuff. Love him or hate him, that's where I feel like a new age should have started. Um, so Magog, who was a main character in that, was supposed to be representative in Kingdom Come of all the problems that Alex Ross and Mark Waid saw in 90s comics. How they got ultra violent, people weren't acting heroic, everybody was all image crazy, and everybody had to have blood in their title, Young Blood, Blood Syndicate, Blood Lust, everything. So Magog was actually Cable with a ram head. A staff and a ram head helmet and he even had the same scars and the same metal on his arms and stuff, right? So maybe I just know too much. Maybe I know too much. Maybe I'm too invested in Kingdom Come, right? But I love this cover, but I know I'm not going to go back and reread this and stuff, right? I have been told this is the best DC comic out there, and I'm just going to say, okay, okay. At least they have a best of something out there. And maybe I'm being too harsh and too critical. I think I'm just too close to Kingdom Come to be able to enjoy something different. Okay, nice. What we got here? What else is Tim reading, right? So let's get over here since hopefully Graphic Man and Breen is still here because they talked about this on their show and I was chuckling the whole time that they did it. But I have some of these 80s collections that DC and Marvel was doing at the time. I have the Jim Starlin, Adam Warlock stuff that he does here. And then we have the Kree Scroll World by Neil Adams and John Buscema and Roy Thomas from like 1970 that they reprint these 2 issues. I also have like the Neil Adams, was it Denny O'Neil, Strange Adventures arc of Dead Man. They came out with a lot of cool stuff the 80s, early 80s, kind of reprinting them before it was a big thing, right? But I go back and I just try to enjoy these. I'm one of the people that I would see Neil Adams' art and just didn't get how people went nuts for it. I felt a lot of it was like repetitive. I get it was photorealistic, and it took me a while to come around. There's something about comics that no matter what the tone is or how the artist is trying to portray things, there is a touch of juvenile in it that has to be there, which blows my mind. So no matter how much we grow up, we do still have to give a little wink and a nod that it's a comic book and we found it when we were kids. And it's a very small balanced thing. You know what I mean? It really is. So you got to keep the tone. The tone, something has got to lighten the tone every now and then before it gets too dark, if that makes any sense, right? So this here I about cracked up because I just got through flipping through the first issue of this, and then I popped on my phone because my pain pill had kicked in. I feel like I'm an old man talking here, which I am, but still, and I've just sort of like laid back. And next thing I know, Eric Breen and Graphic Man are talking about a very book I had just put down about an hour before, which blew my mind. So we're catching up on that. And then what do we have here? Leave It to Chance. Have you never heard of this? Oh, it's okay if you haven't. This is James Robinson and Paul Smith. I follow Paul Smith on Twitter. It blows my mind that Paul Smith is 70 or around 70, so I'm glad he's still with us. A lot of people are super hyped fans of his from the, 10 issues of X-Men they did back in 83, 82, going by memory. But I became a big fan of Paul Smith when he got with James Robinson and did the Golden Age miniseries, prestige format miniseries back in '93, I think. And that ended up getting some legs. It was an Elseworld story. And to me, issue 4 has one of the best, if not the best, arrangement of a very brutal fight, if you will, right? Paul Smith has a background in animation, which I think led to it. See, I love actually being somebody who reads comics. Hold on, guys. I'm having a hot flash here. So let me do some comments and then I'll continue on here. Struggling a little bit. We got. I just bought a pile of 50 plus issues of a new DC stuff for $1 each yesterday at my local comic shop. The cheaper, the better. Yeah, absolutely, man. I bet my whole channel on showing people how cheap I bought my stuff. Modern DC and Marvel books aren't worth anything more than 50 cents. It's hard to argue something like that when you actually, I read the book here, I just bumped my keyboard and a notice came up. Oh, yeah, it's cool. It's not the photorealism, it's the camera angles and the use of zooming and scaling for dramatic effect. Yeah, I got you. James Robinson has a new book coming out in August called Patra with Dark Horse 62 Lefty Blues. Thank you for letting me know. He is one of my favorite writers in comics, and I will be keeping an eye out for that. What first impressed me with Adams was how how he once displayed Marvel Girl's telepathic powers, but visual effects for telepathy, best visual effects for telepathy I've ever seen, and nobody ever did it better. Nice. I could just imagine being there and seeing his artwork for the first time when you go from like Dick Dillon on Justice League, not bashing Dick Dillon, if you will, and all of a sudden here comes, Cyclops, Neil Adams style. Leave It to Chance is a great read. Love Paul Smith art. Fantastic. Let me get back to talking about that. So we got some love for Neil Adams out there. Fantastic. So Leave It to Chance came out 96. We'll see. You can see it's Homage Studios. And if you really are nostalgic for the 90s, the late 90s, the ads and stuff in this will kind of get you a little bit, okay? Especially the back pages and stuff, right? But I was on board with this, right? This is what I would say is a young adult adventure story, if you will, right? And the glut of things that were coming out at the time that were, Bloodstrike and Strike Force and Death Blow and things like that. All of a sudden, James Robinson kind of comes out. I mean, that's one of the reasons Mark Waid's Flash became huge and Mark Waid started becoming the it writer, was because of his Silver Age feel to the Flash. Things stuck out, right? But to be honest with you, this does feel like a pitch for some kind of cartoon series, just a little bit, just a tad or a touch, but there's a lot of love. And I dug it back out because I follow Paul Smith on X, and I rarely get on there, right? But when you're recovering for surgery and you're laying around, you end up on your phone a little bit more than you want. And he's been in over the last few weeks. Has been, and I was looking at it before the surgery too, right? But he's posted a picture, a panel, a page here and there. So I've kind of dug it up. So this is a young adventure, but basically what we have here is the Falconers, right? Imagine Doctor Strange, not as nowhere near as powerful, is sort of the sheriff of a town. And it's normal for you to have like sewer goblins running around. People would buy goblins as babies and they would flush them down, and now they're hurting sewage workers and stuff, and they have a king who has a tin can on his head, right? But anyway, but the Falconers have a tradition of like at a certain age, like 13 or something, they go ahead and they start teaching their kid to be their not their predecessor. But anyway, you're going to inherit all this. I'm going to teach you the ways of science, and then you're going to carry on the Falconer name as sort of like the magic sheriff of this town, right? And they have press conferences mixed in with this wizardry and things like that. But her mother died directly because of her father's job, and now the father is like, she's approached the father like, it's my turn. I'm ready to do this. And he's like, no, you're going to grow up, have a little boy, and I'll teach him, because basically where the mother died, doesn't want her to die. So she ends up going on and having like little Johnny Quest adventures. And along the way, there is a dragon for you guys who were into Paul Smith's X-Men. Sewer goblins. So the first 4 issues kind of go together, and there is a little bit of a government conspiracy where we get the Toad God to pop up. And this is where I'm at now with my reading popping up. There's a little 2-page story. But like I said, this is young adult adventure with pirates and ghosts and all those great things from literature back in the day that we're bringing in. I remember really enjoying this, and then it started fading away and coming out later and later on the stands, to where we got a little bit of Universal monster feel to it, if you will, where we're at the theater. These came out in little trades to keep it going. This is actually the dad. Cops and everything. A little bit of modernism with a little bit of fantasy there, like I said. And then finally, the last 2 issues took forever to come out. They started in 96, and then here's number 12, and number 13 came out in 2002 by Image, Square Mound, and it is out. And I just realized after all those years of waiting for an ending to this, I still haven't read those last 2 issues. So that's what I'm catching up on. This is light reading. Like I said, I could see this being a little bit of a Saturday morning cartoon show, just a touch of it. But it's not juvenile, if you will, just straightforward telling. Feels like Paul Smith, his art is, he's just having a ball. He serves the story. Just fun stuff. Just fun stuff, man. It doesn't always have to be dark, So we got here. So yeah, big appreciation for Paul Smith. Paul Smith is fantastic. He was my favorite X-Men artist. He has some great Doctor Strange issues. That's what I read him in. Doctor Strange is where I've also read him. Never read Leave It to Chance, but feel like I should. I love Golden Age 2 and the Alpha Flight X-Men 2 issue. Yeah. As Guardian Wars is actually what brought me finally all the way into X-Men when I was about 12. And the prequel to that, people, was an X-Men Alpha Flight 2-issue miniseries that led into it. It gives you motivation of why Loki is so pissed at the mutants. Oh, so thank you there. Leave It by Chance is easy to read and enjoyable like Bone for young and old alike. There we go. There we go. Bone. If you like Bone, you'll probably like Leave It to Chance. Well played. Well played, sir. That's why I love doing YouTube. That's why I keep doing it after all these years. Is because of things, comments, and things like that. Give me a little bit of clarity and a little bit of direction, and knowing there's other people that love this stuff also. Good. Well done. Well played. All righty. Don't worry, guys. There's still plenty here. Like I said, I'm dabbling in all this, right? So some of the things I'm kind of doing, well, we'll just keep on the James Robinson kick here, right? When I got Leave It to Chance, I pulled this out. And in the late 90s, you had the Tangent Universe come out. Tangent, right? A bunch of one-shots. And I think Dan Jurgens may have been or may not have been, who knows, behind this whole concept. But we had a series of books come out where the only thing about these heroes that is recognizable are their names. They took the names of the Atom and Superman and stuff, and they let the names inspire what the character would be. So for Green Lantern, they came out with 2 sets of these, right? There was a sequel, and I'm just now realizing this is 98. So I don't know if this is the first or the second one. But anyway, we were talking about EC Comics and horror hosts a minute there that I touched on and everything. So in this one, we have 3 stories because this is the horror host. The Green Lantern with her lantern and things. She tells stories. She's the host. And we get 3 stories in this, much like you would with an EC comic back in the day with a horror theme to it. But they continue to keep using names of the mainstream DC universe and redoing them, right? So James Robinson did this one, and the art is, let me get the name right here, make sure. Let me go ahead and open it. But this is a superstar artist who did Sandman Overture. I'm going blank. Sandman Overture and Batwoman for everybody. But oh my goodness, let me see here. Good grief, J.H. Williams III, right? So, like I said, just a lot of fun with this one. Great art to just kind of enjoy. I don't know if he did the artwork all the way through it, but here's some early stuff of his. Again, these will make you very nostalgic for the 90s, since that seems to be the way to go. And I'm not even going to talk about this character. This character was ridiculous. Did not enjoy her at all. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so just some good stuff here. John Ostrander, Ryan Sook. So each story does have a different team in there, different art team and writer, but James Robinson and Snyder give you the framework for the story. So we're just kind of revisiting that because, you know, I opened the box and there it was. I have a James Robinson box with all my Starman, Airboy, Leave It to Chance, all the stuff that he has. And then I got this. As you can see, there's a $1 price mark on it. This is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never got into the show. I've checked it out here and there. I was in the theater when I saw the first movie. The only movie, excuse me. The original movie back in like 90, what was it, 92, 93. Luke Perry and Pee Wee Herman were in it. And I got that it was fun and it was light. No big deal. So I was surprised when a TV show came out. So if you were a fan of the Buffy the Vampire show, I got a little bit of trivia that's just come out over the last year. You're never going to believe who one of the producers of the show was, a big time producer of the show, right? Dolly Parton, ladies and gentlemen. Dolly Parton had a hand in keeping Buffy the Vampire Slayer on TV. Yes. Yes. So I was at a yard sale a year or two ago, bought a bunch of little stuff that for a quarter, 50-cent piece. And of course, in the middle of this is this beat up Buffy the Vampire Slayer book for $1. Still on here, right? Panel to panel. And it's an art book. These are covers and sketches and stuff from the Buffy the Vampire um, Buffy the Vampire book, I guess, of the 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, we'll say 2000 and up, right? This has Paul Lee, Jeff Matsuda, Cliff Richard, Chris Bacalo, J. Scott Campbell, Randy Green, Guy Major, Eric Powell, one of my favorites right there, Ryan Sook, one of my favorites there, Dave Stewart, you heard that right, people, John Totleben, and more, you know. So you just kind of go through this, and like I said, it's an art book. You just go through there until something, there's Art Adams. You just go through there until something catches your eye. And that's the only reason I have not gotten rid of this. I think it was last night or the night before. I was just laying there miserable on the couch, just to be honest with you. And I remember watching one episode of Buffy the Vampire where it was about Spike, and they're wanting to track him down to get him to tell the stories of how he killed 2 Slayers in 1 century. And I like the whole flashback sequence of the 70s where basically you had Pam Grier fighting Billy Idol, is what it looked like in the subway of New York. I was like, that's the most punk thing that I can think of. So I was like, well played, well played. So yeah, if you like your vampires, you like some horror, some tongue in cheek, some little scene artwork that's out of the way. Mike Turner here. No, that's Matsuda. Excuse me, Jeff Matsuda. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of keep this and pick up little books like this. I have no problem looking at the art and studying the art and things like that. So it's all fun. It's all fun. You know, there we go. So yeah, a little Buffy the Vampire Slayer for you guys out there. I had quite a bit of I might still have them. Probably in 2010 or 11 for a quarter, I found a bunch of variant covers. And in those variant covers that I was buying out of this box, I got quite a few of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I tried to read them, and I think it was like continuing the seasons. Didn't do much for me. Didn't do much for me. So I just moved on and stuff, right? So what do we got here? Okay. What we got here? Just ordered the first volume hardcover. Leave it to chance on eBay. Nice. Nice. I might check out and see what things are going for. So one of the most fantastic things that I think you could find when I was a teen, if you will, would be, it's one thing to find comics. You know, you would get a nose for comics. You would maybe drive over to the next town or something for whatever reason, and they would have like a food country or a food city, a grocery store, if you will, or maybe you would run into a pharmacy or something like that, and you would find comics. But what was even better at times to find is when you would find a comic scene or amazing heroes. Now remember, this is if you don't have access to, I'm struggling, guys, excuse me. If you don't have access to, comic book shop and things like that, right? So I always loved when, I would find this comic book news and stuff. It's how I found The Crow, for example, things like that. You know, you would finally get all the ins and outs and things that are coming, and everything was going on, right? So then Wizard came out, and we had all sorts of books coming out, comic books price guide, their weekly magazine, everything that a lot of people remember. You got to remember, if you didn't have a comic book shop, or if you were in a small town, you can forget it. So it's amazing. All of a sudden, we had a glut of this stuff. I had access to comic book shops. One finally opened in my town in the 90s, came and went. I worked at one, it came and went. And all of a sudden, you had like Wizard magazine popping up in the 90s, and all this stuff was coming out, and you could get them in back issue bins, and you had your news, and you had your interviews with these guys. It was great. You knew what was coming. It was a whole new thing. And then they sort of dried up thanks to the internet, or the quality went down. They weren't worth it, and people stopped publishing, right? And then throughout all this, we have Tomorrow's Publishing coming out with Back Issue and Alter Ego. And this is old news for a lot of people. I'm not so much late to the game. I bought my first issue of Alter Ego back in, 2002, when John Buscema passed away. But for the price and the internet and the things that I was doing, it was here and there I would buy them. Here lately, Mike Urey and Roy Thomas, they have just been nailing it, right? But I've sat back and I flipped through these pretty quicker than I should when I first got them. So I had them on the side and I'm slowing down. Tom Palmer and George Perez. These are their tribute issues. They do have anyway, but these are two artists that hit me pretty hard when they passed away. Charlton 66 took pictures of me talking to Tom Palmer. It's like I unloaded, I don't know, 40 years worth of talk that I wanted to have with him in like 10 minutes, and I didn't come out looking like an idiot. And he ended up not charge. He told his handler not to charge me for any signatures and stuff. Right? We talked art. It's fantastic. And then there's George Perez. I mean, do I really need to explain? Anybody that met George Perez or grew up in comics, you get it, right? So I haven't had the heart to put these in the two magazine boxes that I keep up with now. You know what I mean? I've kept them out. I flip through them. It's just a lot of nice people saying nice things about them. And, some art and special features and stuff. A little bit more there with George and stuff, right? So the gentleman's agreement at Tomorrow Publishing that Mike Erie told Scott Connor and I a couple years ago at a little tiny con in Dublin, Virginia, is that basically it's understood that Tom gets the gold and silver age and Mike has the silver age and up, if you will. So that's basically how you do these, right? So just great stuff, man. Great stuff. Neil Adams, Gene Colan, John Buscema, Wally Wood, Dan Atkins, Jim Steranko, this one. And then George Perez, 20 greatest hits of the back issue era, plus special features, the George Perez years, right? So yeah, that's it kind of gets me how people you never knew, you just grew up on their work, will kind of get you, a little bit, right? And then this is another one that I'm revisiting here, right? I've been on a bit of a Titans renaissance, if you will, right? My Titans, I didn't really get pulled into Titans. I showed you a week or two ago where I found this 1970s issue of the Teen Titans, and it was one of the first ones I remember reading that was in probably the Stepdad's collection, right? And then all of a sudden everybody was talking about George Perez and Marv Wolfman and stuff, and they won me over. They had to win me over. I was very cantankerous. If something was already popular, I didn't want anything to do with it. I'm looking for the future, the new thing, or the thing that's cool now that everybody is ignoring. That's why when people were talking Wolverine, X-Men, Batman, and I'm a Batman fan, don't get me wrong, but Superman was my guy when everybody was in Batman. I love them now, but when everybody was talking like X-Men and Teen Titans and this and that, I'm over here talking Commandy, OMAC, Black Adam, Doom Patrol. I was just drawn to that, So it's really great. It wasn't until the reprint series, to be honest, the reprint series where Tales of Teen Titans went Baxter series in 1984, and then a year later, the newsstand Teen Titans book turned into the Tales of Teen Titans. They'd already started that, and with issue 59, I think they stopped telling new stories. They gave you the reprint of DC Comics Presents Insert in issue 60. I still have them. On the newsstand was the Baxter series a year later. Now let's take a minute to uncross our eyes while we think about that, okay? So basically the Baxter series started. Baxter series were only at comic book shops. The newsstand would follow a year later with reprints in the ongoing series that started them with the same numbering. So I kind of went backwards. I had a few issues of Teen Titans here and there, and I'm about to show you them. But the ones that I actually had on hand that I actually bought were issues, I can't remember now, 13 and 14, 14, 15, but it was a Doom Patrol story. Yeah, right on the cover, I can reach over here and grab it. It's in that box. On the cover was Robot Man. So it was like, that's probably around 82. And then I kind of followed him here and there in the 30s and stuff that was popping up. But in the meantime, I remember being at a Walden Books, and it was this storyline that I remember flipping through because, the parents and a bunch, we went up there to the movies for some reason at a mall that was like 60 minutes away, which was back then a lifetime to drive, it felt like. And I got left alone to run through the mall, and I went straight to the comic books. So what year is this? 82? Yeah, we'll say 82. I might be wrong. It is one of these issues of the all-spanning science fiction stories of the Teen Titans is a splash page where you have the Justice League, and they're inside of a ship, and you can kind of see the space behind them, and Cyborg's legs have been blown off, and they're talking to him and stuff, right? So as I'm flipping through this, and I remember I didn't buy one of these issues. I ended up buying All-Star Squadron like number 8. or something, right? I went with the older heroes from World War II, if you will, right? But I ended up buying that one and stuff. But one of these issues is like from when I was a kid, and ironically, uh, I can tell you the cover of All Star Squadron #8. I think it's got a giant praying mantis. But for years and years and years, that image was in my head of Cyborg with his legs blown out, being carried by two other heroes while they talked to him. So that stayed in my mind. Now, what's driving me nuts is that this is one of the books I'm going to back up and reread and things. Do that again. It's been a while, but I can't find the annual #1 that goes with this, and I have two copies. One's beat up, and who knows where the other one's at. It's not in my Titans box, and I'm not allowed to lift over 5 pounds right now, so I will not be digging through boxes that aren't already like right there. So that's going to drive me nuts, right? So this is the one that's beat up really bad. Somehow I got this in the 80s, and this is the one that's beat up. And I read it backwards. I read that one first, then backed up and was able to track down those other issues and stuff. So with that being said, this is the 40th anniversary of the Teen Titans, George Perez and Marv Wolfman's, and I'm just taking my time going through this, having some fun with this book, and reading some Teen Titans Spotlight that I haven't read in years because they have this fantastic article on Starfire that I need to sit down and just read. As you can see with all the text and stuff, I wouldn't recommend trying to read Back Issue Magazine all the way through. I think this is a quarterly magazine and you have plenty of time to do it. But I read these things, and apparently somewhere along the line when I finally got on Teen Titans, man, I just absorbed it because, I have all these issues, recognize all these issues. This is the book in question that's missing. And yeah, right here, I have so much of this stuff. It's kind of wild seeing that comics that I've had since I was a kid, popping up as, in a 40th anniversary issue of the Teen Titans. Galactic Guardians, if you're a man of a certain age. And I have never, ever, ever understood why they've always wanted to push Cyborg going back to 1985 as a member of the Justice League. And the fact that he ended up being in the Justice League movie still blows my mind. He's a Titan, guys. He's a Titan. Now, this is just for fun. Because when John Byrne came to DC, he didn't just stay on Superman. He did Legends. He played around with some covers. We got to see him touch a lot of, his versions of other DC characters in Action Comics. They more or less turned that into DC Comics Presents to fill a void as an excuse. But, he was playing around. He did a what was it? He did a Secret Origins annual with the Doom Patrol. And then he played around with Marv Wolfman because they're old friends, on Titans and stuff, right? So what we have here is a annual. This thing is beat up. I do have an upgrade. We'll say it's a reader's copy, but this is the origin of Brother Blood featuring it. New Teen Titans Annual #2 from 1986. Marv Wolfman, John Byrne, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I mean, who could not get that just with that team and stuff, right? Again, a lot of light reading going on because I'm trying to get through this other book. You know what I mean? Like, this is just stuff to catch up on. And like I said, I'm catching up on my little Harbinger Millennium Week of I remember reading this. It's a George Perez cover, but he didn't do in the art. It's Colleen Doran. The results are going to vary with what I'm going to read here. And believe it or not, I'm more of the bad guy. This is from 1987. I get more into bad guys. I honestly do when I read a lot of things. Why must these villains become heroes? But we have the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. I have no idea how long I've had this, but I've actually never read this. It was a rare thing to have your villains be the spotlight of a book. That should be interesting. And going back to the King Conan, Josh and I, that I've talked about several months ago, went to a comic book convention in North Carolina, comic convention, and one of the first tables I found, I couldn't believe it, had these soft cover trades for $5, and they were epic collections of Conan. So I ended up getting 3 of the Conan Barbarian comic from the 70s at Marvel, and this is one that I think came through Dark Horse. This is the King Conan Chronicles. Phantoms and Phoenixes. Tim Truman is on it, so I have to get this. But Epic Collections, man, I could grab these left and right. These are just such beautiful books. This covers Conan 2006 to 2013, and I'm sure it was a series of miniseries. Conan, the Midnight God, 1 through 5. King Conan, the Scarlet Citadel, 1 through 4. King Conan, the Phoenix and the Sword. Conan, the Phantoms of the Black Coast, which is actually in, I think that's in this book that I have here. Or maybe it's a return too. I don't know. Let me look here. Oh, sorry. It's Beyond the Black River. My faux pas, you know. A material from Age of Conan, the Hyborian Adventures, right? So if I get around to this, this is what I'm going to reach up and grab there and look at. So that's where we're at, man. A little, you know, a lot of sleeping, catching up on a little TV when I'm able to, mostly on my phone, and all this stuff laying around. And I'm going to do the comments, and then I'll show you some things that I might get to since I've done all this stuff, just so we have something nice to look at, right? But we also have this stack that I haven't got to, but it's laying out. It's been laying out for a while. Let me look here. Wow, we have quite a few of these. All right. Love books and magazines on comics. Amazing Heroes was great back in the day. These days, anything by Tomorrow's is great. Yeah. I just won an auction last night on Mike Urie's The Kryptonian Chronicles, I think. That when that comes in, I cannot wait. I got it cheap. Basically, it's the silver. It looks at the Silver Age Kryptonian stuff of the 60s, the Weisenberger years. I saw Mike Urie actually have one in his hands a few years ago at this little convention. I was buying those Amazing Heroes in quarter boxes for years, but now they have jumped in price. The speculators came out and the woodwork out of the woodwork. Yeah. I'm lucky to have the ones I have. I remember seeing Amazing Heroes in a comic book shop in Roanoke in 2009. They had almost a complete run, and they were all $1 a piece, and I was able to grab my Crisis issues, Crisis on Infinite Earths issues, and George Perez related stuff, and maybe some John Byrne stuff. Yeah. And the price is going up, and speculations are real bad now. A lot of stuff's drying up around here. All right, guys, I'm in just a tad of pain, so I think we can get through this. The physical media renaissance before the internet and the micro attention span. Gotcha. A lot of people have been paying attention the last couple years. The modern masters books are fantastic. Not sure why they quit doing those. Those were a lot of great artists left. There were a lot of great artists on the covers. Agree with you. I don't think I have any of those. Don't know. I think the price, and I'm not going to get into it. It's speculation. I have nothing solid, to say of it. Yesterday, my comic shop gave away Crow 1 through 4 all first print. The winner was at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words right now as I was reading that. On one hand, I'm like, congratulations to him. And the second hand is I'm like, please, dear God, let those go to somebody that appreciates them. I have no problem with people finding treasures or having some good luck with that stuff. But dear God, please let them know what they have. And, I don't want to hand this. I'm horrible. I'm horrible about it. I will, I don't want to see somebody who has grubby hands and fingers getting something fantastic that deserves, respect. We got here, if you get the chance, look for issues of Comic Book Marketplace. Good stuff. I may have 2 or 3 of those. Don't know. I have to look. I think I found some for like $2 a piece. They're from the early 80s, right? Early 80s, and they were pulp. My friend Jerry Smith wrote an article of one of the 20 my friend Jerry Smith wrote an article on one of the 20 George Perez stories. Oh, fantastic. I will look for him in that. I'm assuming you're talking about the back issue. Those Baxter's issues were amazing. The first 6 were unbelievable. Dear God, the art that George Perez did in the Teen Titans Baxter series #1 is some of his finest work. I always thought from Legends promo material that they were pushing for Beast Boy to join the new monthly JLI. There's just some characters that just need to stay in the Titans in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. And it's not out of disrespect. It's not saying that they need to always be sidekicks. This is just that, you know, the Titans had to work really hard to be considered heroes on their own instead of a Super Junior Justice League. There's stuff that went on in the Titans that that Marv Wolfman outwrote, you know, people on the Justice League easily. You know what I'm saying? Now we have something we can talk about, Paolo. Maybe that's what we can talk about. You know, Titans versus Justice League and who should be members. Sadly, Marvel lost the Conan license before they could finish reprinting all the Marvel and Dark Horse Conan material and Epic Collections and Omnibus. They did cover big portions of it. I'm trying to keep my comments very nice, but you know, when you're mixing Conan with your superheroes and Savage Avengers and stuff like that, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like, maybe you should have lost the license. I don't know. But it is very sad not to give. Between Dark Horse doing their phone book editions of like Savage Sword of Conan, the magazine, that was my Conan. And things like that. It would love, I get wanting the consistency. I feel you. I feel you. Have you ever read the short Jurgens Perez Teen Titans run? I'm currently reading Story, Then and Now from it, and it's pretty good. The mileage on that one for me, I'm not a. It's so odd, man. It's like I would love to sit down with Dan Jurgens and just talk comics with him. Yet when it comes to me buying his comics and a lot of stuff that he does, I'm not a fan. You know, it's so odd. Um, I'm more interested in the creator than what he's creating. You know what I'm saying? This guy has a, first of all, he's got a full run with that Superman money. I'm assuming that's how he got it. He has a full run of Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Fantastic Four. He has the full run. I read that somewhere in an article or something, right? Um, I think there's a Wizard article too around the time he was doing Thor. I was just like, this is a nice guy and stuff like that. When it comes to his comics, I'm sure he's done something somewhere I can kind of like, but I'm no interest, you know. But I would love to sit down and talk comics with the guy. Am I making sense here? Now, as far as that Teen Titans run, that's one where we had Ray Palmer end up being de-aged a lot. There was a time where they were de-aging a lot of characters. Okay, just to throw that out there, man. Tony Stark became a teenager. Ray Palmer popped up as a teenager, joined the Titans. A lot of people have a lot of love for those characters, and a lot of those characters ended up getting messed up in Infinite Crisis. They were just fed to Superboy Prime. So I'm not a fan, but I also don't hate it. Now, what's really cool is on some of these fan sites on Facebook that pop up, they will be talking Titans or something. I'll go to my CLZ app, take a screenshot showing that I have full runs or my issues of a or whatever title we're talking about, and I have quite a bit of Teen Titans. And then this one guy popped up, and he did his, and he had every full run of every volume of Teen Titans. He had them all, you know, according to his ZLZ app, right? And I just gave him a wink and a nudge, and I'm like, that's impressive. But what's more impressive is that you finished volume 3 after Jeff Johns ran and bought everything after that. That's when they went bad. So if I was going to put some Teen Titans books in the bad category, it'll be everything after Jeff Johns. Okay. So, oh, I'm horrible. I'm so horrible. Oh. Oh, wow, man. You guys have a lot of comments. Let me get through these. This is fantastic. It just caught up for me. Go Gore Vidal, my good friend. Anything with Dave Stevens is now hot with speculators. I have seen that. The 2 Cheval Noir covers he did are selling in the hundreds. The one I saw that somebody was selling, and I just realized I said that wrong, but I'm not going to correct myself. I was already thinking about my comment before I said anything. Here we go. 3 issues of Orbit, and I'm so glad that I just need 1 issue, but you know, Dave Stevens is great. Whatever is going on with his stuff being brought up in value, good for him. I finally got around last year to watching the fantastic documentary on him, Mr. Rocketeer. Yeah, this is the one I have that a lot of people don't realize. I've got quite a few Dave Stevens covers, don't get me wrong, but this was 3 issues of Orbit where they take Isaac Asimov tales and they do adaptations of them. Dave Stevens, I'm pretty sure, just did the cover to this one and stuff, right? But there's 3 issues, and the issue that I'm missing is Nighthawk, the painting of the Nighthawks, excuse me. My favorite uh, piece of art is the Nighthawks painting, and it's a tribute, it's a sci-fi tribute to it. So I'm waiting on that one. So thank goodness I don't have to track that one down. Oh, if anybody was really interested, I would like do a live show where I just went through those books there, right? So hundreds. Negative Burn, 1993-98 reprint coming out again. Nice. I've got a few Negative Burns here and there. Titans Heroes is picking up where Marvel stopped, so there is still a chance to get those stories. Fantastic. Titans. Okay. I didn't like Marvel's newer Conan stuff, nor did I. Either, with the exception of the first arc of Savage Sword. Okay, I heard that was Jason Aaron, correct? If I remember right, I thought it was a bait and switch. That's actually why I got out before I got in. I kind of that was a thing Marvel was doing at the time. They would give you a little bit of fan service, and then they would switch it up. I'm still waiting on that on X-Men '97. I'm still getting bad comments. I'm getting people still mad at me for having something to say about X-Men '97 on some board on Facebook somewhere. This is why I don't like being down in the dump. This is why I don't like being down and sick and laying around. I end up spending a little bit too much time on social media when I don't any other time. I didn't like Marvel. I didn't like Marvel's newer stuff. Great Ron Garney art, but the Epic collections were great. Yeah, the Epic collections, that's the way to go, man. Yeah. Is it because Jurgens created Booster Gold? That's a part of it. That's a part of it. Yes, Dan Jurgens created Booster Gold, and yeah, it's probably put up a. No, I'm not going to act like it's like put up some kind of mental block or something like that. That's a huge part of it. Oh man, how funny. He created your beloved Booster Gold. See, my friends know me. My friends know me well. Yeah, they know what I see what you're doing. That's something that's unforgivable. It may very well be unforgivable. I may not be able to be the big man and get over this, get over that, because Booster Gold, somehow they know, and he infiltrates everything I love. All right, so we'll go through this. This is stuff that I'm hoping to get around to. I bought this Doom Patrol and Suicide Squad off the rack. Amazingly enough, out of all the issues that they could have picked for a show called Young Sheldon, there is an episode of Young Sheldon trying to track down this Doom Patrol Suicide Squad special. This has actually been one of my favorite comics in my collection. Take that in, right? John Ostrander, Paul Kupperberg, Eric Larson. And supposedly James Gunn has said that this is a book that helped influence the Suicide Squad, and I get it. I can see it. The plot's there. Some of the characters, the Weasel. There's a few things going on in there that I can see were in his fantastic movie. But when I read this, I was collecting both Suicide Squad and the Doom Patrol, and this book had its own little feel. Like there's an atmosphere with this book that I can't put my finger on. That it's just a little bit haphazard, a little bit crazy and stuff. And I'm like, this is gold. And I have not read anything that had the same feeling or anything. But at the same time, if you do not have this in your collection, you don't remember it or don't know about it, that there is a very reason. This is from a thing where I was a fan of the two books. They did some crossover for some reason. And this is early Eric Larson, mind you. And this book ended up just being fantastic. I got a big kick out of it. So yeah, I've carried this around since 1988. It's just a complete story. You have Hawk on a mission for the government, and he ends up in some third world island country. We have Eric Larson drawing Ronald Reagan with that hair, if you will, Gumby hair. We have Robot Man in a sombrero before Grant Morrison came on and put clothes on him all the time. And then when they actually come out and fight, we have Rick Flag, getting powers and stuff, the Thinker's hat and everything. This is just one of those books that I read and I'm like, that was both weird and good at the same time. So well played for them. Now these are out of order. but in one of those Facebook groups I was kind of talking about, somebody put up some Kerry Gamble art of the Teen Titans, and I had to look it up. Like I said, I spent too much time. You know, you get tired. I get tired very easily now for a little bit as I'm recovering and try not to overdo it. I can't be lifting stuff. Can't really bend over that well. That kind of stuff. And so I go down the well and I'm like, when did I meet Marv Wolfman and George Perez? And in my mind, it was just a couple years ago, 2012, folks. 2012. Can you believe that crap? So 2012, I ended up talking to Marv Wolfman. There is a line. They have George Perez at the end of the table, Marv Wolfman. I can't remember the other two people, but they're all kind of friends, So as you're in line, the creators might talk to you, they might not. I ended up having a talk with Marv Wolfman, and I like to think that my talk, the reason he talked so much to me, is what I started out with. I finally just had a point where I'm watching George Perez down there. I'm about 10 people away. He's doing sketches for people for $30. I wish I got an OMAC from him or something if I thought about it. And I'm holding my Crisis on Infinite Earths that I've had since I was 12, going into 13. I want Marv signs them for me, and I want to get Claremont or George Perez to sign them. And Marv's just sitting there. He's New York, man. I don't know where he's originally from, but he's New York. And finally, we're just this silence. Nobody's talking. Everybody's watching George draw. Everybody's in awe. And I just kind of leaned over him, and I was like, I was talking about his epic comics that he came out with. Or epic comics, excuse me, in the Eclipse miniseries he came out with. That was their answer to Crisis on Infinite Earths for their anniversary. I said, Marv, what was up with Total Eclipse? And he was so down. He looked at me and he went, "Oh, that was a favor for a friend. Those characters never should have met." He had regrets of doing Total Eclipse because of the quality of the work that came out of it. He was like, "I did that as a favor to a friend, and those characters should never have ever been together. They don't click together. They don't fit together." And finally, we actually had a conversation after I would ask a question, he would go on. And then out of the blue, I was like, "Well, good talking to you." And I moved up one person. Like we moved one, because, and all of a sudden he just kind of looked at me and he went, "Into Teen Titans, man, I stayed on way too long. I should have moved on from that book. I stayed on way too long." So now I have Marv Wolfman giving me all the reasons he stayed on the Titans for too long. And as he talked, I knew exactly the era that he was referring to without him giving any hints to it. And it was the 90s. It was the Total Chaos crossover that he did that I'm about to get the last issue that I need from, and the Kerry Gamble era. You know what I mean? Yeah, he knew it. He talked about writer's block and some other stuff that was going on. And I'm just sitting here thinking, man, I'm sitting on gold again. I'm sitting on gold. You know what I mean? I'm just sitting here like, if I was a reporter, if I had a job as a journalist or something like that, like I have pure gold here. Like Marv Wolfman admits he stayed on too long on Titans. You know what I mean? In my mind, I had headlines in my head, right? So anyway, Kerry Gamble, Tom Raimi. Oh my God, I've got a set of 3 or 4 artists who I think never got their due, and they're fantastic. Tom Raimi, Kerry Gamble, and I probably want to spit out the last one at some time. Oh, because I got to talk with Tom Raimi. I told him Tom Rainey, and I told him he's one of those guys. But anyway, Kerry Gamble, Tom Rainey, and I'll think of the third one at some point. But there's 3 guys who never got their due, and I think they're fantastic artists. And that's why I'm probably going to flip through these when I have a little bit of time and I finish some other things. Go back and kind of read these. But it's this era of Titans from like 92, probably like 92 to about 94. We had our Teen Titans. Tom Grummett, Kerry Gamble, Tom Grummett. He's right here. Kerry Gamble, Tom Grummett, Tom Rainey. 3 artists I think never got their due. And if I was an editor or a publisher back in the 90s, I would have grabbed all 3 of those guys and created a universe. Good God. Tom Grummett. Anyway, we had Tom Grummett, Kurt Swan, Dick Gianardo, Wolfman, all these guys on this little run. Teen Titans, where we have Jericho as the bad guy, and we have our, I don't know, Deathstroke ends up having to do something horrible to his son, things like that. As you can see, I have multiples of these. Who was Phantasm during this? Now you got to remember, this was a time where, Image Comics had hit big. So we got Team Titans from the future. You know, each one got their first issue. You know, they were coming. Kurt Swan and Paris Collins are on this. Tom Grummett. It was good to see Kurt Swan getting work. I heard he had a hard time in the 90s to where he ended up doing some Penthouse Comics work, you know. But it just blows my mind that I never realized the hate that some people have for Jericho here. Oh my God. I think it was pre-pandemic or during the pandemic where I was on a live show on somebody else's channel with a bunch of younger guys, and they kept referring to Jericho as the Hobbit. He dresses like a Hobbit, and I couldn't, you know, I did not defend defend the Jericho. You know what I mean? The tenets of Jericho there, because I started seeing him as a Hobbit as well. I was like, oh my God, you know. But anyway, I never saw such a run of Titans where we had so many throwaway characters like Panther, who basically had the same color scheme as Nightwing, things like that. Panther coming, who was Phantasm. Even if I told you who Phantasm really was, you're still going to go, who? You know. Yeah, the Wildebeest. Which was funny because Wildebeest I had a character in 7th grade I created that was the Wildebeest. So imagine my surprise when, you know, they were such, you know, a character named Wildebeest had such a huge run in Teen Titans. This is a really good issue. I can't remember why. There's 3 issues of this one. Issue 19 of the new Teen Titans and issue 71, for some reason, it's soap opera. It's the good soap opera stuff here, right? Golden Eagle. I love those West Coast Avengers. So yeah, this little run here with Kerry Gamble, Tom Grummett, Kurt Swan, Marv Wolfman with writer's block, and him admitting he stayed on the book too long. I'm going to get around to reading some of that. So let's do comments, guys. I am feeling rough. I'm going to go lay down after this. Oh, thanks for being here with me. I'm glad I got to do this and I got cabin fever. I was going to just whine and bitch all day long right now. My all-time favorite DC special is The Legion of Substitute Heroes. Maybe my favorite DC comic. Rest in peace, Keith Giffen. Let me show you something. You guys stay right there. Don't go anywhere. Oh. Do not go anywhere. I'm still here. I'm coming. Do you mean these? Yes. I highly recommend this, and the DC Comics presents Superman and the Legion of Substitute Heroes for anybody out there. I absolutely love these. Yeah, I'm with you. And I got a little question here because you made me think about this, man. Something fried. When I talk about going to Heroes Con in the 90s, late 90s, mid 90s, early 2000s, I told you I went on a Sunday and I would go there because the comics were cheap and keep my head in the box and stuff, right? But I met this creator who dressed up as his character of a book going on. Something fried, and of course it was the Peanuts characters grown up. You may know what this is or who this guy is, so I can write it on the back and figure out who he is and what the book was. I took a picture of him because I'm a huge Peanuts fan, but I didn't appreciate the book. You know what I mean? But I didn't hate the guy. There was no hate, no venom. Like, I feel like I have to say those because nowadays, if you don't like something, everybody's got venom about it and they want to do reaction videos and say horrible, horrible things and stuff, right? So whoever this guy is, let me know. That's the creator. I feel that because the Jurgens Perez run is kind of unremarkable for whatever reason, they missed out on the villain that I'm starting to really like, Hayes. Oh, wait a minute. Think Mastermind from the X-Men. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm not going to do this, JP. You got me. You got me. I feel like it's on the tip of my brain. I know who that is. I know this character you're talking about. I agree with you. I can agree with you. Somebody else has said the same thing to me about that run. That's what it is. I don't know the character, but I've heard this before. Okay. Gamble is very underrated. I would add Tom Grummett as someone who's underrated. Look at you right there. Before I could get my brain to work, you were right there on it. I appreciate that. Yeah. DC was putting out some thick Teen Titans trades and got up to volume 14, which is impressive for DC, who have been in so many lines. Yes, here we go. Hey, Fried, is that the Peanuts Gone Wild? I don't know. It was like an indie book. I almost want to say it was self-published, but I'm not sure. But basically, the Peanuts characters are grown up, and Charlie Brown has grown up to be some kind of like, I don't know, cable-like assassin or something. I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? But it was something blank fried, and like I said, I only took his picture. That was with a disposable camera. Where I was in Charlotte, I was taking pictures. There's some skateboarders outside and the small parking lot. Like even 20 some years ago, it did not have the crowds that it has now, which got me. You could actually park and walk around and all this stuff across the street from where they were having it. And I just happened to have like a photo or two. I had like this portable camera had like 3 or 4 photos left over, and I was just taking random pictures. But when I saw this guy, I had to do it. Well, I have no idea who this is. I may put it on Instagram and see if anybody can figure it out for me. Okay, guys, that is it. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for all the well wishes. I'm gonna go lay down. So read your comics, sub, thumbs up, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And like I said, I might make a video or two that are, I don't know, 10 minutes long or something, if I get around to it and stuff, right? So everybody be excellent to each other. Great seeing everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Read your comics later.